I had a dream that I was having lunch with my family. It was my father, mother, and sister. Everything seemed normal, and it wasn't a sunny day, but it wasn't cold because our large window was open. It took place in one of the homes we used to live in like 15 years ago. So I remember we were having starters and having a very normal conversation. My dad was talking about playing some music because he plays guitar, and I wanted to join him, so we were planning out sessions for the following few days. And my sister was interested. She lives in the US and she was visiting us. And so, because she was interested and wanted to do that with us, my mother was concerned that she wouldn't have enough time because her flight was on Saturday. And I knew this was a Monday. So it was like 4 to 5 days left, and basically, my mother was concerned that she would kind of not have time to do all of that or miss her flight if she got into it. And all of a sudden, we hear a very, very loud noise, very high pitch, like bombs when they're dropping um, before they actually explode, like the sound of them falling into the air. So I looked to my left out the window, not knowing what to expect. And I can sense and hear it's getting closer. I'm looking at the neighbor's garden, which is like plowed soil. And then I see two things falling almost simultaneously and from like a 45-degree angle. We started hearing the sound a good 5 seconds before it hit. And I do believe they were meteorites because they weren't that big, but they had like I could almost distinct a rock and a trail of fire. But when they hit, I thought war, and I was just like, we all stood up, and I was saying, "Get under the table." And I remember my dad was kind of like shrugging, like, the table's not gonna save us from this. But I got under it, and it's one of these old, um, very sturdy oak tree tables. And it's funny because I distinctly remember that at the beginning of the dream, it was a round table, but then it was a rectangular one, just like the one we used to have. And so I'm hiding under it, and I feel something like heat against my back and specifically between my shoulders, like something did hit, and the table did protect me. And there happens to be an old volcano in this area, but I don't remember we would see it from our view, but I don't remember seeing it in the dream. I just remember clear skies. This dream is pretty self explanatory. And while I think my dad was my actual dad in the dream, I wonder if my sister could have been a metaphor for the church, and therefore the whole thing about the activities with playing guitar and my mother's concern about the timing could have been about the rapture. I woke up after the first dream and fell back asleep. And there was another part of the dream where my sister was throwing a party, and it kind of looked like those southern facades where the streets are kind of narrow, and so the two facades are kind of close together, or the Caribbean homes as well. And so there were people on both sides and even on the balconies, and it was a mix of friends and family members. And I just remember people were just waiting for the event to start, and I just remember basically feeling led to share the dream. So I gathered everyone and got their attention, and I told everyone my dream. And before I was even done, they were kind of no longer paying attention, not mocking, but just uninterested. And at that point, my sister comes over and she hands me this kind of a kitchen robot or a bread maker, and it had dough in it, and it was raisin bread. Well, actually, I don't remember that she handed it to me, but she was like, "Can anyone take care of this? We need to be making bread." And I just took it and I was like, "That's a job for me." And this way I can be helping in the kitchen and away from the guests who don't care about what I have to say. John 6:32. Then Jesus said to them, "Most assuredly, I say to you, Moses did not give you the bread from heaven, but my Father gives you the true bread from heaven. For the bread of God is he who comes down from heaven and gives life to the world." And then they said to him, "Lord, give us this bread always." And Jesus said to them, "I am the bread of life. He who comes to me shall never hunger, and he who believes in me shall never thirst. But I say to you that you have seen me and yet do not believe. All that the Father gives me will come to me, and the one who comes to me I will by no means cast out. For I have come down from heaven, not to do my own will, but the will of him who sent me. This is the will of the Father who sent me, that of all he has given me I should lose nothing, but should raise it up at the last day. And this is the will of him who sent me, that everyone who sees the Son and believes in him may have everlasting life, and I will raise him up at the last day." The whitened harvest. Then they went out of the city and came to him. In the meantime his disciples urged him, saying, "Rabbi, eat." But he said to them, "I have food to eat of which you do not know." Therefore the disciples said to one another, "Has anyone brought him anything to eat?" Then Jesus said to them, "My food is to do the will of him who sent me, and to finish his work. Do you not say, 'There are still 4 months, and then comes the harvest'? Behold, I say to you, lift up your eyes and look at the fields, for they are already white for harvest. And he who reaps receives wages, and gathers fruit for eternal life, that both he who sows and he who reaps may rejoice together. For in this the saying is true, one sows and another reaps. I sent you to reap that for which you have not labored. Others have labored, and you have entered into their labors." John 4:31-38.